Hi everyone. Today's video is the first in what I think will be a 5-series videos, a set of videos called Surviving the Holidays as a Sensitive Person. And I wanted to provide some tips because the holidays can be really busy. It's really easy for overwhelm to kick in because there's just so much going on, and it's a really it can be overwhelming. It can be an overwhelming season for anyone, regardless of temperament, but as a sensitive person taking just that extra bit in, it's certainly easier for that to happen. So here are some tips that I've found helpful, that clients of mine also find helpful, and I wanted to share them, and hopefully they'll help you too. So perspective number one I wanted to offer, and I'm going to do it in the form of a question: are you serving boiled frog this Christmas or this holiday? And what I mean by that is, you know, the saying, how do you boil a frog? You put it in a container of water and gradually raise the temperature until it's at boiling point, and because it happens so gradually, the frog doesn't notice. Are you doing this with your schedule? Are you doing this with what you say yes to? So every time that we make a choice to say yes to something that doesn't necessarily nourish our spirit or a sense of well-being and commit our time and energy to that, I feel like we're raising the temperature on the water for ourselves. We're putting ourselves in a situation that depletes us and maybe even harms us, depending on what some other circumstances might be. And I think while women are often susceptible to saying yes when we would rather say no, there's something about being sensitive that makes it even harder. So with our great deal of empathy and feeling what the other person is feeling, the empathic nature of being sensitive, there comes a choice point where we know we'd rather not say yes to something, whether it's a volunteer opportunity, a party, a crafting marathon, a cookie exchange, that kind of thing. We know it's not really where we want to place our time and energy and our heart, but the fear of disappointing someone makes us choose what seems like the easy way. So we avoid that really short-term peak of high discomfort level, potentially high discomfort level. Maybe not. Maybe no one's going to be disappointed at all. Maybe they're okay with it and they were just offering it, you know, as a kind gesture, and that we're imagining the worst and it's not actually going to happen. Nobody's going to give you a giant guilt trip and make you feel terrible for making a choice that works for you. Hopefully you have the kind of people you surround yourself with that would support you in that kind of decision. But back to my point is, we often avoid that short-term peak discomfort, and we don't really realize what the cost is long-term. We don't realize how we are boiling ourselves, so to speak. We don't realize how that gradually over time depletes us of energy as we continually commit to things that don't nourish us. And we become like that boiled frog. We become increasingly depleted with each thing that comes, each way that we participate in a way that doesn't nourish and feed us. So that's my invitation to you this holiday season, is to realize when you're making those choice points, am I doing this to avoid a potential peak of disappointment, but it is just short term, and you know the level of disappointment or discomfort, could be high, but it only lasts this long. Whereas if I avoid that, my level of discomfort goes along, long term, long term, long term, long term, and keeps building and building and building until at some point I've maybe reached that same level of discomfort by saying yes when I really wanted to say no, except that it's so much more because it's been this entire trajectory building up to this point. So, just something to bear in mind as you make your selections of what you say yes to and what you say no to, and hopefully they are all things that feed and nourish your well being and your soul. Happy holidays, everyone.